and welcome back to Truth Talk Thursday. I'm Jenny Kuemmel, host of Mama Drama and Trauma. This week's Truth Talk, it's about the part of the journey that no one really prepares you for. The part where holding on starts to hurt more than letting go. It's about those moments when you've held on for so long, hoping things would get better, only to realize that sometimes letting go is the only way forward. It's about the kind of pain that changes you, not just in the moment, but deep down in your soul. It's about what happens when you lose the hope that used to keep you going, and somehow, in the middle of all of that heartbreak, you learn to breathe again. This one, it hits deep because letting go isn't something that happens overnight. It's something that breaks you open piece by piece, moment by moment, until you realize that holding on is no longer keeping you safe. It's slowly destroying your peace. So, if you're in that space, the space between holding on and healing, this one's for you. Let's get into it. When holding on starts to hurt. I think for a long time, I confused control with safety. I believed that if I just tried harder, loved deeper, or forgave one more time, things would go back to how they used to be. That somehow my effort could fix what was broken. That if I held on tight enough, maybe the ending would change. If I could just hold everything together, the plans, the people, the pieces of my life, maybe I could keep the chaos out. Maybe I could stop things from falling apart. But what I didn't realize was that holding on that tightly, it was breaking me slowly and quietly. There's this moment when your heart finally whispers, I can't carry this anymore. And even though you don't feel ready, you start to let go. Not because you want to, but because you have to. Because the weight of what you're clinging to is crushing what's left of you. Because there's this part of you that still wants to believe, still wants to see the best in the person who hurt you, still wants to fight for the life you pictured with them. And when you finally start to loosen your grip, it doesn't feel like freedom at first. It feels like failure. It feels like you're giving up on something sacred. There were so many nights when I'd sit in the dark, staring at my phone, just waiting for something. A message, an apology, a sign, anything that would make me believe the story wasn't really over. And in those moments, I wasn't just holding on to a person, I was holding on to the version of me that still believed we could make it through. Letting go felt like losing her, the hopeful version of myself who always believed love could conquer anything. And that broke my heart in its own way. Letting go feels so lonely at first. It feels like you're losing your identity. You ask yourself, who am I if I'm not trying to fix it? Who am I if I stop trying? Who am I without that person, that role, that life I thought I'd have? But maybe that's where you begin to find yourself again, in that quiet space where everything feels uncertain, but it also feels honest. And here's something that I've learned. Sometimes holding on doesn't mean you're strong. Sometimes it means you're scared. Scared of who you'll be without the chaos, scared of the silence, scared of facing the truth that what you built, what you gave your everything to, isn't coming back. And yet, somewhere deep inside, there's this whisper that starts to rise up and says, you can't keep carrying this. And when you finally listen to that whisper, when you finally let your hands unclench and release what's been breaking you, that's when the healing starts. Not because you're ready, not because it's easy, but because your soul is tired of bleeding for something that won't stop hurting you. Letting go is a process. It's messy, it's lonely, it's crying in the car when your favorite song comes on, it's waking up in the middle of the night missing someone who's no longer yours. It's trying to move forward even when your heart keeps looking back. But it's also sacred because it's the moment you start coming home to yourself again. The moment you stop fighting what is and start accepting what's meant to be. And somewhere in that surrender, in that painful, quiet surrender, you begin to find a small flicker of peace. The weight of losing hope. And that's when the guilt comes in, right? Like you start to feel bad for losing hope, like you failed or like you've given up. But losing hope isn't failure. It's a sign you've been fighting for too long without rest. It's your heart's way of saying, I need a break. Sometimes hope needs to die before it can be reborn into something real. Something rooted not in what you wish could be, but in what actually is. There's a certain kind of heaviness that comes when hope starts to slip away. And it's not something anyone prepares you for. It doesn't happen all at once. It just sneaks up on you. It's not loud. It's not dramatic. It's just this quiet ache that settles in your chest. You wake up and realize the light feels dimmer, and you start to wonder if it will ever come back. One day you just realize you're not waiting for things to get better anymore. You're just surviving them. Losing hope doesn't start with some big dramatic moment. It starts quietly in the little ways you stop believing. It's when you stop checking your phone as often. It's when maybe tomorrow turns into probably not. It's when you stop making plans for the future because deep down you already know those plans don't include the person you once thought you couldn't live without. It's a strange kind of grief because it's not just the person you're grieving, it's the version of life you thought you'd have. It's grieving the version of your life you pictured. It's the holidays you pictured together with them, the milestones you assumed you'd share together. It's mourning the someday that will never happen, the comfort of knowing someone would always be there at the end of the day. It's feeling like all the effort, all the prayers, all the fighting, all the forgiving, it all led to this place you never wanted to be. And suddenly, all those little things you once took for granted, the good night text, the good morning coffee, the inside jokes, they become memories that ache. They replay in your mind like a movie you can't stop watching, even though you already know how it ends. I remember waking up one morning and realizing I hadn't slept through the night in months. I didn't even recognize myself anymore. I was smiling on the outside, but crumbling on the inside. My mind was running on overdrive, my heart felt hollow, and my body was just tired. I was showing up for everyone else, but silently breaking down when no one was watching. I was functioning, but I wasn't living. I was showing up for my kids, for work, for everyone else, but somewhere along the way, I stopped showing up for me. I wanted to believe things would turn around, but deep down, I was just tired. Tired of hoping for something that wasn't coming back. That's what losing hope feels like. It's like watching your own light dim, one flicker at a time, until the world feels gray and heavy. And you tell yourself to be strong because you always are, but this kind of strength feels different. It's not the kind that lifts you up, it's the kind that just gets you through another long day. And there's a guilt in that too. You start to feel bad for losing hope, like you failed, like you've given up. You start to feel like you're failing because you just can't snap out of it. You wonder why you can't seem to find the same hope everyone keeps telling you to hold on to. But the truth is, losing hope isn't a sign of weakness or failure. It's a sign you've been fighting for too long without rest, and that your heart has been trying for far too long to keep believing in something that stopped believing in you. Sometimes hope needs to die before it can be reborn into something real. The most painful thing about losing hope is that it means you finally see the truth. You see the situation for what it really is, not what you wanted it to be. And that kind of honesty, that hurts. Because once you see the truth, you can't unsee it. But I learned that the loss of hope isn't the end. It's the pause before something new begins. It's like a field after a fire. It looks empty, it looks destroyed, but underneath the ashes, something new is quietly growing. It takes time, it takes tears, and it takes 1,000 moments of wondering if you'll ever feel whole again. But one day, when you least expect it, you'll notice a little spark, a small moment of peace, a breath that doesn't hurt, a sunrise that feels beautiful again. That's hope coming back. Not the same kind you had before, not the naive, unshakable version that believed everything could be fixed, but the wiser, softer hope. The kind that says, maybe it's going to be okay, even if nothing looks like I imagined. So if you've ever lost hope, just know you're not broken, you're human. You're grieving what you thought your life would be, and that's okay. Because sometimes the only way to find real hope again is to let the old kind die first. The quiet in the aftermath. There's a stillness that comes from the storm, something about the quiet after everything falls apart that no one ever warned you about. It's not peaceful, not at first. You've spent so long surviving that when the chaos finally settles, you almost don't know what to do with the silence. It's this strange, heavy stillness, like the air itself is holding its breath, waiting to see what you'll do next. For me, that quiet felt foreign. I had spent so long overthinking, replaying conversations, analyzing every moment, trying to make sense of it all, that when it finally got quiet, I didn't trust it. I missed the noise, even the painful kind, because it was familiar to me. You spend so long in survival mode, trying to fix things, trying to hold it all together, trying to make sense of the chaos, that when it finally gets quiet, you almost don't know how to exist in it. The noise was painful, but it was also familiar. And when it's gone, the silence feels foreign, almost threatening. That's the thing about healing. It doesn't feel good at first. It feels empty. It feels like something's missing in you. And in a way, something is. The version of your life that you've carried so long is gone, and the space it leaves behind feels endless. I remember those first few nights after everything changed, the house would get so still. The hum of the refrigerator, the ticking of the clock, those tiny sounds felt deafening. And my thoughts, they wouldn't stop. I'd replay every conversation, every moment, every decision. I'd try to find the exact point where everything went wrong, as if knowing the answer could somehow make it hurt less. But the truth is, silence doesn't give you answers. It gives you space, and space can be terrifying when all you want is distraction. There's this moment after the storm when you realize you can't hide in the chaos anymore. You can't bury yourself in fixing or forgiving or hoping. And all that's left is you. And for a while, that realization feels like a kind of loss all on its own. But that space, that's where something new can begin. The silence that once felt unbearable starts to sound like peace. The emptiness that scared you starts to feel like possibility, and the stillness that used to make you anxious starts to feel like rest. Because the silence holds up a mirror. It makes you face everything you've been running from, the pain, the truth, the loneliness, the questions you've been too afraid to ask. It's raw, it's uncomfortable, and it's honest. And sometimes it feels unbearable. I used to fill that quiet with anything I could. Music, cleaning, scrolling through my phone, talking to people just to avoid being alone in my thoughts. But no matter what I did, the silence always found its way back. And eventually, I'd stop fighting it. One night, I remember sitting outside. It was late, the air was cold, and the sky was that deep gray that comes right before dawn. Everything was still, and for the first time, instead of trying to fill the silence, I just sat in it. I didn't have the energy to pretend I was okay anymore. I didn't have words or plans or hope. I just breathed, slow, shaky, but real. And in that moment, I realized that the silence wasn't my enemy. It was my teacher. It was showing me what peace actually sounds like. Not the loud, confident kind that feels perfect, but the fragile kind that comes after you've cried so hard you finally run out of tears. The kind of peace that doesn't erase the pain, but gives it somewhere soft to land. And little by little, that quiet stopped feeling so empty. It started to feel like space to heal, to rest, and to start over. The same silence that once felt unbearable became the foundation I rebuilt myself on. Because that's the beauty of the aftermath. It's not the end of your story. It's the pause between who you were and who you're becoming. And even though it feels lonely, it's in that quiet that you start to hear your own voice again. The one that's been buried under all of the noise. The one that says, you're still here, you're still breathing, and you're still you. Learning to breathe again. Learning to breathe again doesn't happen in one big cinematic moment. It happens in tiny, ordinary ones, like sitting in your car with the windows down, letting the air hit you in the face. Walking outside in the morning and realizing the sun feels warm again. Listening to a song you used to love and not skipping it this time. Little moments that whisper, see, you're coming back to you. I remember the first time I really exhaled, like truly let out a breath I didn't even know I'd been holding. It was subtle, but it changed everything. Learning to breathe again isn't just physical. It's emotional, it's spiritual, it's allowing yourself to exist without bracing for impact. Breathing became my way back to myself. Every deep inhale reminded me that I was still there, still alive, still capable of healing, and still deserving of peace. And every exhale became a release of expectations, of guilt, of the need to have it all figured out. For so long, my breath was shallow. It was as if my chest couldn't expand all the way, like there wasn't enough room in my body for air and pain to exist at the same time. But I started to notice every time I cried and finally let it all out, I could breathe a little deeper afterward. Every time I stopped pretending and just allowed myself to feel, the air came easier. It's almost like healing happens when you stop fighting the pain and start letting it move through you. Breathing became my reset button. I would close my eyes and take a deep breath when all the memories came rushing in. When I'd start overthinking or the loneliest crept in out of nowhere, I'd remind myself to just breathe. Sometimes I'd whisper it out loud like I needed to hear it more than anything else in the moment. Because breathing isn't just a physical act, it's an act of surrender. It's not about pretending everything's fine. It's saying, I can't change what happened, but I can keep living through it. Even when it's not fine, I can still breathe. It's allowing yourself to take up space again, about reclaiming your space in the world, even after you felt like life had squeezed all the air out of you because it didn't go the way you had planned. There comes a moment, quiet and unexpected, when your body finally just realizes how long you've been holding your breath. You don't even notice it at first. You've been living in this constant state of tension, waiting for the next heartbreak, the next disappointment, the next wave to crash. And then one day you exhale and you feel it. The release, the softness, the reminder that you're still here. And you know what's wild? The first few breaths don't really feel freeing. They hurt. It's like your lungs are stretching to make room for something they forgot how to hold. But over time, those breaths start to feel like proof. Proof that you're healing, proof that you're learning to trust yourself again, and proof that your body still remembers peace even when your heart doesn't. I started to notice how breath carried me through the hardest moments, through the tears that wouldn't stop, through the nights that felt endless, through the mornings that felt empty. One breath at a time, I kept going. And eventually, those breaths started turning into moments of stillness, and those moments into strength. Sometimes healing isn't loud or visible. It's sitting quietly on your porch, wrapped in a blanket, watching the sky change colors and realizing you didn't cry today. It's feeling your chest rise and fall and knowing that you're not bracing for impact anymore. You're simply breathing, existing, living, becoming. And maybe that's what healing really is. Remembering that even in the middle of everything that broke you, your body still knows how to keep you alive. It still knows how to breathe you forward, and every single breath is proof that you're doing it. You're surviving what once felt impossible. The gentle rebuild. There comes a point, usually when you're not even looking for it, when you realize you've been rebuilding all along. Not in big, obvious ways, but in the quiet ones. Like the way you make your bed in the morning again, or the way you laugh a little easier. The way music starts to sound beautiful again, and the way the sunrise feels like a gift instead of a reminder of another long day. It's small, but it's happening. You're rebuilding. Letting go doesn't mean you stop caring. Losing hope doesn't mean you'll never believe again. It just means you're learning to live differently, lighter, freer, and softer. At first, it feels fragile, like if you breathe too hard, it might all fall apart again. But piece by piece, you start to trust it. You start to believe that maybe you can create a life that feels like peace. A life that's yours. Not what you lost, not what broke you, but what came after. You start to understand that healing isn't about forgetting what happened. It's about learning to carry it differently. It's about finding peace in places that used to bring you pain. The gentle rebuild doesn't look like the old version of you. That woman, the one who gave everything, who carried it all, who tried to hold on until her hands bled, she's still a part of you, but she's no longer the one leading the way. This new version of you builds differently. She sets boundaries, she honors her energy, and she doesn't chase peace. She protects it. It's wild how healing works. One day you wake up and realize the memories that used to make your stomach drop don't quite sting the same anymore. You can look back without collapsing. You can hear their name without breaking. You can talk about what happened, not from the wound, but from the scar. And maybe that's what growth really is. Realizing the pain didn't ruin you, it just helped shape you. It carved out a space inside you for compassion, for truth, for strength you didn't even know existed. And while you might still carry the ache of what you lost, you also carry the proof that you survived it. The gentle rebuild isn't learning that healing doesn't mean you stop missing what was. It means you stop depending on it to feel whole. It's the moment you stop waiting for someone else to save you because you finally see you've been saving yourself this whole time. There's something so powerful about that realization. It's quiet. It's grounded, it's soft, but it's unshakable. You realize that every tear, every sleepless night, every breath that felt impossible, it all led you here. To this version of you, steady, wiser, and still standing. And maybe you're not there yet. Maybe you're still figuring out what there even looks like for you. But that's okay, because healing isn't a destination, it's a way of living. It's showing up for yourself even when it still hurts. It's about learning to breathe even when the air still feels heavy, because one day it won't. One day it'll feel light again. And when that day comes, you'll look back and realize that every shaky breath, every tear, every moment you thought you couldn't make it through was actually you becoming who you were always meant to be. It's choosing softness even after life made you hard. It's believing that peace is possible even after everything. So tonight, as you lay your head down, I want you to remember this. You are not the same person who once begged for things to stay the same. You are stronger, softer, and wiser. And though your story changed in ways you never asked for, it's still your story and it's still beautiful. Because you are the rebuild. You are the proof. You are the breath after the storm. If you're in that space, letting go, losing hope, and learning to breathe, I hope this reminds you that healing isn't about having it all figured out. It's about showing up one breath at a time and trusting that even the smallest steps forward still count. I see you. I know it feels heavy, but please keep breathing. Keep showing up for yourself, even in the smallest ways, because every breath you take is proof that you're healing, even if it doesn't feel like it yet. And if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to Mama Drama and Trauma on YouTube and on your favorite podcast platform so you don't miss next week's conversation. You can also join me on TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook at Mama Drama and Trauma. That's where we keep this healing journey going, one real, honest story at a time. As always, you are strong, you are worthy, and your story matters. Until next time, take care of you.